I was carefully wrapping the pearl necklace I had saved months to buy for my mother's 60th birthday when my phone rang. The delicate white pearls gleamed under my apartment lights, and I smiled, thinking about how surprised she would be. After working so hard in Seattle's tech industry, I was finally in a position to spoil the woman who raised me. Little did I know that this birthday would change everything between us forever. The caller ID showed Dad's name, and I answered with excitement, ready to confirm what time I should arrive tomorrow. Before I dive into what happened next, I would love to know where you are watching from. Please hit that like button and subscribe if you enjoy family stories that take unexpected turns. Trust me, you will want to stick around for this one, because what my family discovered about me left them speechless. Growing up in Phoenix, Arizona, I always knew my place in the family hierarchy. As the older daughter, I was expected to be responsible and independent, while my younger sister Sarah got to be the golden child. Dad worked as a mechanic at the local garage, coming home with grease under his fingernails and stories about difficult customers. Mom held down the reception desk at a dental office, managing appointments and insurance claims with the patience of a saint. We were a solid, middle-class family, nothing fancy, but we had each other. Sarah was everything I was not. Where I was serious and studious, she was bubbly and popular. Her blonde hair caught the light perfectly, and her laugh could fill a room. She was homecoming queen-head cheerleader and had boys lining up to take her to prom. Meanwhile, I buried myself in computer science books and dreamed of bigger things than our small corner of Arizona. When I graduated valedictorian and got accepted to the University of Washington, my parents seemed proud but also confused. Technology was not something they understood, and Seattle felt like another planet to them. 2 years ago, I made the move to Seattle permanently after landing my dream job. The Pacific Northwest welcomed me with its coffee culture, innovative spirit, and opportunities I never could have imagined back home. But distance had created an invisible wall between my family and me. They saw my career as unstable because they could not wrap their heads around what I actually did. When I tried to explain software development or product management, their eyes would glaze over. They preferred Sarah's straightforward path through community college and her job at the local bank. When Dad's voice came through the phone that evening, something felt different. He cleared his throat several times before speaking, which always meant he was uncomfortable. "Julia, we need to talk about tomorrow." He began using the shortened version of my name that somehow always made me feel smaller. "Sarah's bringing someone special to Mom's birthday, and we think it might be better if you skip this one." My hands stopped moving over the gift wrap. "Skip Mom's 60th birthday, Dad? What are you talking about?" "Now don't get upset," he said quickly. "It's just that Sarah's been dating this fellow Tyler Morrison for a few months now, and she's finally ready to introduce him to the family. He works in the tech industry too, very successful from what Sarah tells us. She really wants to make a good impression, and you know how you can be sometimes, Julia. A bit intense. And with your situation being unstable and all." The words hit me like a physical blow. My situation being unstable, I looked around my luxury apartment with its floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Elliott Bay. The modern furniture, the artwork I had carefully selected, the life I had built from nothing. "What exactly do you mean by unstable?" "Well, you're still single, and your career path isn't exactly clear to us. Sarah wants this Tyler to see our family as stable and successful. Maybe it would be better if you came for dinner next week instead, just the four of us. We could make it up to you then." After we hung up, I sat in stunned silence on my Italian leather sofa. Through the windows, the Seattle skyline twinkled like scattered diamonds, and ferries moved peacefully across the dark water. This was the life I had worked 70-hour weeks to build, the success I had sacrificed social events and relationships to achieve. Yet my own family saw me as an embarrassment, someone who might damage Sarah's chances with her new boyfriend. I thought about my college graduation when my parents had missed the ceremony, because Sarah had a cheerleading competition the same weekend. Or the time I got promoted to senior developer, and the family group chat had been silent while they celebrated Sarah making Employee of the Month at the bank. I had always told myself it did not matter that I was building something bigger than their approval. But sitting there with Mom's birthday gift in my lap, I realized how much I had been lying to myself. Instead of driving to Phoenix the next day, I sent an expensive floral arrangement and a gift card to Mom's favorite restaurant. I spent the weekend preparing for the biggest week of my career, pushing thoughts of family birthday celebrations out of my mind. As Senior Director of Product Development at TechFlow Solutions, I managed a team of 15 engineers and was responsible for multi-million-dollar client projects. My colleagues respected my expertise, my boss valued my leadership, and industry headhunters called me regularly with new opportunities. If my family could not see that value, perhaps it was their loss, not mine. The morning of Mom's birthday, I tried to focus on work, but social media kept pulling me back into the world I was excluded from. Sarah had posted a series of photos from the celebration, and I found myself studying every detail, like evidence in a case I was trying to solve. There was Tyler, tall and confident with perfectly styled dark hair and a smile that seemed practiced. He wore an expensive-looking navy blazer and had his arm around Sarah's waist with comfortable familiarity. The family photos showed everyone beaming at the camera, Tyler fitting seamlessly into our little unit. Mom wore the earrings I had sent, which made my heart ache with a confusing mixture of love and resentment. Dad had his hand on Tyler's shoulder, in that way he did, when he approved of someone the same gesture he had never once directed toward any of my achievements. The comments section was filled with relatives praising Sarah for finding such a catch and asking when wedding bells might ring. My phone buzzed with a text from my cousin Jennifer. "Where are you? Mom said you couldn't make it, but she didn't say why." I stared at the message for 10 minutes before typing back a simple excuse about work commitments. The lie felt bitter in my mouth, but the truth felt too humiliating to share. By evening, I was pacing around my apartment when my best friend Madison called. She had been my roommate at the University of Washington and now worked as a corporate lawyer downtown. Madison knew every detail of my success and my family's confusing blindness to it. "I cannot believe they actually disinvited you," she said after I filled her in on the weekend's events. "Do they have any idea what you have accomplished? You are literally running product development for one of the fastest-growing companies in the Pacific Northwest." "They do not understand the tech industry," I replied, settling into my reading chair with a glass of wine. "To them, success means a traditional job with a clear title that they can explain to their friends. Software development might as well be magic." "But that is exactly the point," Madison insisted. "Tyler works in tech too, so why is his career more legitimate than yours? You should tell them the truth about your position, your salary, everything." I had considered this many times over the past 2 years. Part of me wanted to invite the whole family to Seattle, show them my corner office, introduce them to my team, let them see the respect I commanded in my field. But another part of me, the part that still remembered being the overlooked older daughter, resisted the idea of proving myself to them. Love should not require a resume. If I have to show off my accomplishments to earn a seat at Mom's birthday table, what does that say about our relationship? I asked. Madison sighed. "It says they are human and flawed and do not deserve you. But Julia, someday, they are going to realize what they have missed, and you need to be ready for that conversation." Her words proved more prophetic than either of us could have imagined. The following week brought the biggest presentation of my career, a project that would either cement my reputation as a rising star or expose me as someone who had climbed higher than her abilities allowed. Morrison Tech Solutions had approached TechFlow about a comprehensive digital transformation project worth $3.5 million. For months, my team had worked on a proposal that would modernize their entire client management system, streamline their operations, and position them for rapid growth. The pressure was intense. Morrison Tech had a reputation for being particular about their partnerships, and this contract would be the largest in our company's history. I spent sleepless nights refining presentations, testing software demonstrations, and rehearsing every possible question they might ask. My team rallied around the project with the dedication of people who understood what this opportunity meant for all of us. The night before the presentation, I received another family update that felt like salt in a fresh wound. Mom called to thank me for the flowers and gift card, but her tone carried the distant politeness reserved for acquaintances rather than daughters. "You should have seen Tyler," she gushed. "Such a polite young man and so successful. He works for a tech company just like you, but he seems to have really figured it out. Sarah is just glowing with happiness. It would be nice if you could find someone like that, Julia. Someone stable who could take care of you." The irony was so sharp it nearly made me laugh. Here I was preparing to close the biggest deal of my career, and my mother was suggesting I needed someone to take care of me. I listened to her describe Tyler's job, his apparent wealth, and his bright future with Sarah, while staring at the awards on my wall, and the skyline that had become the backdrop to my independent life. After we hung up, the family group chat exploded with messages about engagement possibilities and wedding planning. Sarah shared photos of an expensive restaurant where Tyler had taken her for a post-birthday celebration, showing off the wine he had ordered and the dessert they had shared. The attention and admiration she received for simply dating someone successful made me realize how invisible my actual success had become to them. I turned off my phone and spent the rest of the evening in my home office running through presentation slides one more time. Tomorrow would bring either triumph or failure, and I was determined to control the only variables I could. My family might not understand what I did for a living, but my work spoke for itself in ways that needed no translation. The morning of the Morrison Tech presentation arrived gray and drizzling, typical Seattle weather that somehow felt appropriate for the gravity of the situation. I dressed in my favorite navy suit, the one that had cost more than my parents made in a month, but made me feel capable of conquering the world. My team assembled in the conference room early, running final checks on our presentation technology and reviewing our strategy one last time. The Morrison Tech representatives joined our video call promptly at 10 a.m., appearing professional and engaged as we walked them through our comprehensive proposal. I explained how our software solutions would integrate with their existing systems, demonstrated our user interface designs, and outlined a timeline that would minimize disruption to their daily operations. My team fielded technical questions with expertise that made me proud to be their leader. For 90 minutes, everything went perfectly. The clients asked thoughtful questions, requested clarification on specific features, and seemed genuinely impressed with our innovative approach. As we neared the end of the presentation, I felt the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you have done exceptional work. "This has been incredibly thorough," one of the Morrison Tech managers said. "We are impressed with your team's attention to detail and the scope of your solution. We would like to move forward pending approval from our CEO. He asked to join this call to personally review the final proposal." My stomach tightened slightly at this unexpected addition, but I nodded professionally. "Of course, we would be happy to present to your CEO." The screen flickered as they added another participant to the call. When the video connected, I felt the world tilt sideways. Tyler Morrison's face appeared on the screen, his confident smile freezing into an expression of pure shock as he recognized me. For a moment, neither of us spoke, the silence stretching uncomfortably, while my team exchanged confused glances. "Hello, boss?" Tyler finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. The words hung in the air like a confession. Tyler Morrison, the successful tech entrepreneur my family had been celebrating, was about to become my client. The man Sarah was planning her future around would now be answering to me. The stable, accomplished boyfriend my parents preferred to their own daughter was sitting in his office realizing that his girlfriend's overlooked sister was about to become his business superior. I took a breath and found my professional composure, though my heart was racing with a mixture of shock and something that felt dangerously close to satisfaction. "Hello, Tyler. It is nice to finally meet you. Should we continue with the presentation?" To his credit, Tyler attempted to maintain his professional demeanor, asking intelligent questions about implementation timelines and ongoing support structures. But I could see the wheels turning in his mind, calculations about what this meant for his relationship with Sarah and how he had misread the family dynamics so completely. His company was smaller than he had implied to my family, and his role, while respectable, was hardly the empire-building position he had suggested. As we discussed contract terms and project milestones, I realized that Tyler had exaggerated his success to impress Sarah and my parents. Morrison Tech was a solid company, but it was nowhere near the industry giant he had pretended to represent. He was successful, certainly, but not in the league he had claimed. The revelation felt like puzzle pieces clicking into place, explaining why my family had been so impressed with his apparently modest lifestyle and straightforward job description. When the call ended with Morrison Tech accepting our proposal in its entirety, Tyler lingered on the video connection for a moment longer than necessary. "Julia," he said carefully, "I think we should probably discuss this situation." "The business arrangement seems quite clear to me," I replied evenly. "TechFlow will begin implementation next month, and I will be your primary point of contact. Is there anything else you need clarification on?" He understood the message. Whatever personal complications this created, our business relationship would remain professional. After we disconnected, I sat in the conference room processing what had just happened, while my team celebrated landing the biggest contract in company history. My phone started buzzing within minutes. Sarah first, her voice high and frantic as she tried to understand what Tyler had told her. Then Dad, stammering through an explanation that made no sense. Then Mom, suddenly eager to hear all about my job and wondering if I might have time for that family dinner after all. The family group chat, which had been silent toward me for months, suddenly exploded with messages asking about my work, my success, and whether I might be free for a visit soon. The same people who had disinvited me from Mom's birthday were now falling over themselves to reconnect, as if Tyler's recognition of my authority had finally made my achievements real to them. The days following the Morrison Tech revelation brought a parade of awkward phone calls and overly enthusiastic text messages from family members who had suddenly remembered my existence. Sarah called first, her voice a strange mixture of embarrassment and curiosity as she tried to process how her successful boyfriend had become subordinate to the sister she had always seen as the family underachiever. "Tyler told me what happened," she said, her usual confidence replaced by uncertainty. "He said you are like really important at your company. He seemed kind of nervous about it." "We will have a professional working relationship," I replied calmly. "It should not affect your personal relationship with him." But we both knew that was not entirely true. The power dynamic had shifted in a way that could not be ignored. Tyler had built his appeal partly on being more successful than anyone Sarah had dated before, and now that foundation had cracked. More importantly, it had revealed how little my own family understood about the life I had built. Dad called next, his voice carrying the forced cheerfulness he used when he knew he had made a mistake, but was not quite ready to admit it directly. "Julia, I think there might have been some miscommunication about Mom's birthday. Sarah mentioned that you and Tyler know each other from work." "We do now," I said simply. "Well, the thing is, we might have gotten the wrong impression about your job situation. Tyler speaks very highly of your company and your position there." "Very highly indeed." I waited for him to continue, but he seemed to be hoping I would fill the silence with reassurance that everything was fine. When I did not, he cleared his throat and pushed forward. We were thinking it might be nice to have a proper family dinner where we can all get to know each other better. Maybe you could tell us more about your work, and Tyler could share some stories about the tech industry. What do you think? The invitation that had been withdrawn so hastily was now being extended with desperate enthusiasm. I could hear Mom in the background whispering suggestions about restaurants and dates. The family that had seen me as potentially embarrassing now wanted to display me as a trophy proof that they had raised successful daughters. Mom got on the phone, her voice bright with forced excitement. "Julia, honey, I had no idea your job was so important. Tyler was telling us about how respected your company is and how difficult it must be to reach your position. We are so proud of you." The words I had wanted to hear for years now felt hollow coming after Tyler's validation. Their pride was real, but it was conditional pride dependent on external confirmation rather than trust in their own daughter. I appreciated the gesture, but the timing revealed everything I needed to know about how my family measured worth. The most awkward call came from Tyler himself, reaching out on a Saturday morning when he knew Sarah would be at her yoga class. His voice was careful, measured in a way that suggested he had practiced what he planned to say. "Julia, I want to apologize for the awkward situation this has created. I never intended to misrepresent anything to your family, and I certainly did not know about your position when I started dating Sarah." "You do not need to apologize for dating my sister," I replied. "And you do not need to apologize for your success, modest though it may be compared to what you implied." He was quiet for a moment before continuing. "I think I may have gotten carried away trying to impress them. Sarah's family is so warm and welcoming, and I wanted to feel worthy of that acceptance. I did not realize I was making you feel excluded in the process." "Why?" It was a thoughtful apology, more honest than I had expected. Tyler was not a bad person, just someone who had gotten caught up in the same dynamic that had been hurting me for years. He had seen how the family celebrated conventional success and had played into those expectations, not realizing he was pushing out someone who had already achieved more than he claimed to have. As the business relationship with Morrison Tech progressed over the following weeks, Tyler proved to be a competent client who respected professional boundaries. The project moved forward smoothly, and his company was thriving under the new systems we implemented. On a personal level, his relationship with Sarah seemed to weather the initial shock, though friends reported that the dynamic between them had subtly shifted. My own relationship with my family began a slow, careful evolution. I agreed to visit Phoenix for a weekend, not for the elaborate dinner they had proposed, but for a quiet Sunday lunch where we could talk honestly about the distance that had grown between us. Mom cried when she saw my photo albums from Seattle, finally understanding the life I had built in the years they had dismissed as unstable. Dad asked detailed questions about my work, genuine curiosity replacing his former confused dismissal. The conversation was not a magical reconciliation that erased years of feeling overlooked, but it was a beginning. I explained how their doubt in my choices had hurt, and they acknowledged how their own fear and misunderstanding had blinded them to my achievements. We talked about the difference between loving someone and truly seeing them, and how conditional approval had poisoned our ability to connect authentically. Sarah and I had our own separate conversation walking through the neighborhood where we had grown up, while she processed how her little victories had often come at the cost of overshadowing my bigger ones. She admitted that part of her had always resented my independence and success, even when she did not fully understand what I was accomplishing. "I think I was scared that if Mom and Dad saw how amazing you were, they might realize I was not special," she said as we sat on the swings in our old elementary school playground. It was the most honest conversation we had ever had, and it opened the door to a relationship based on who we actually were, rather than who our parents had decided we should be. Sarah was more thoughtful and perceptive than I had given her credit for, and I was less intimidating and judgmental than she had assumed. We began texting regularly, sharing pieces of our daily lives that had nothing to do with family expectations or sibling competition. The experience taught me that forgiveness is not a moment but a process, and that setting boundaries does not require burning bridges. I did not immediately return to attending every family gathering, but I also did not cut them out of my life entirely. Instead, I created space for relationships to grow in healthier directions, based on mutual respect rather than desperation for approval. My career continued to flourish with the Morrison Tech success, leading to even larger contracts and a promotion to Vice President of Product Innovation. I started dating again, meeting someone through my hiking group who appreciated my ambition without needing to be impressed by it. The relationship grew slowly and naturally built on genuine compatibility rather than external validation. 6 months after Mom's birthday dinner that I was not invited to attend, I hosted Thanksgiving at my Seattle apartment. The whole family came, including Tyler, and we cooked together while sharing stories about our work, our dreams, and our gratitude for second chances. Dad spent an hour looking through my telescope at the city lights, and Mom helped me plan a garden for my balcony. Sarah and Tyler announced their engagement, and I was genuinely happy for them, understanding that their relationship had grown stronger through honesty rather than performance. Looking back, I realized that sometimes the best revenge is not revenge at all, but simply living authentically and allowing your success to speak for itself. My family needed external validation to see my worth, which revealed more about their limitations than mine. The real victory was not in their eventual recognition, but in my refusal to diminish myself while waiting for their approval. The pearl necklace I had bought for Mom's birthday eventually made its way to her jewelry box, presented at a quiet dinner, where we could appreciate both the gift and the gesture, without the complications of performance and expectation. She wears it often now, and each time I see it, I remember not the hurt of being excluded, but the strength of choosing my own worth over their temporary blindness. That strength, more than any professional achievement or family reconciliation, became the foundation for everything that followed. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give yourself is the patience to wait for others to catch up to who you have always been, while never allowing their delay to define your journey. What do you think about family dynamics like this? Have you ever experienced being undervalued by people who should know you best? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please give it a like and subscribe for more real-life family drama that reminds us we are not alone in these complicated relationships. Share this with someone who might need to hear that their worth is not determined by others' recognition of it. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply continue becoming who you are meant to be, regardless of who is paying attention.